Are you silly, generous, and opinionated? Or creative, adventurous, and studious? Want to know which Book Interrupted member you're most like? Try visiting www.bookinterrupted.com/members to find out.
We're doing another contest here on Book Interrupted. During the Seeing Red book cycle, we're giving away a Nixed Mixed Flow period underwear kit. To find out more, go to www.bookinterrupted.com/contests. Parental guidance is recommended because this episode has mature topics and strong language. Here are some moments you can look forward to during this episode of Book Interrupted.
Carrie and Shark Week, I don't know.
Red
Wedding.
Red.
Could I go to the period tent?
I would like to be excluded.
We can't talk about this in front of the boys because it's shameful.
By the way,
That's
you
the
came
way.
into this world as a result of your mama being able to have a
Exactly.
period.
Curious about it, but then I just don't want to screw it up.
You can put it down, push us down, whatever, but we still got it. We still believe it.
Are you going to the washroom and you'll be changing your pad? I'm like, yep.
Mind, body, and soul. The information is the goal. Try to learn something new without being distracted. Mind, body, and soul. The information is the goal. Try to learn something new without being disrupted. Mind, body, and soul. Inspiration is the goal. Interrupted.
This book cycle is proudly supported by My Balanced Life, helping you find inner balance through individual, corporate, and community wellness programs. My Balanced Life offers wellness sessions across many disciplines, including Chinese medicine, which was discussed in this month's book, Seeing Red. Fully licensed and registered practitioners are available for one-on-one in-person treatments and virtual coaching sessions. As a valued Book Interrupted listener, you can book a free 15-minute consultation at www.mybalancedlife.ca/bookinterrupted. That's www.mybalancedlife.ca/bookinterrupted. To learn more and book your free consultation, you can find the link in the show notes below.
Welcome to Book Interrupted, a book club for busy people to connect, and one that celebrates life's interruptions. If you'd like to join along, this book cycle's from March 28th to May 2nd. It's Lindsay's book pick, and we're reading the book Seeing Red by Kirsten Karchmer. Seeing Red breaks down the lies women have been made to believe about their periods and how to achieve a healthy cycle. Let's listen in to this episode's group discussion.
I've read the whole book because I just devoured it, even though I know we're not supposed to have started it before the first discussion. I've read the whole thing very quickly. But I love that she talks about the history of people talking about periods too, and how ridiculous some of the stuff is that women would have to go and be in their own, and that they have the plague, and that the men will get sick if they come near the woman that has their period, like blah.
Oh my God, I wish I could fucking send me to the period tent.
I've read The Red Tent. It's actually a great book. And sometimes I think that. I'm like, I wish there was a tent I could just go.
Could I go to the period tent?
I would like to be excluded too, right? It's like, oh, you have your period? Okay, goodbye for 4 days. I would be like,
I just want it to be my choice.
Right.
That's all.
Sometimes I fantasize about the period tent with the other women. I'm going with the women to the period tent.
Yeah,
Until you have to go to work. Like, if you know what I mean? Like, we joke that it would be nice only because we have the resources to be able to do that. But like, it is a huge problem for some people. Just, can you imagine just being like, but I have to earn a living or take care of my sick parents, or like, it's so crazy. Like, what? It's just so crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, like if you don't have the option, it's like, well, I guess I have to go to work and then spend, my breaks heaving in the bathroom because I'm so nauseous from this pain, or spend another sick day on something that like is part of biology. You know what I mean? Like,
and if you had all the information, maybe you would not be feeling sick.
Right.
Right?
It has more had more attention been invested in the first place, even understanding the system of the body, at this point, right? The system of the body is insane. Let's have a little understanding in it, and then maybe we can know how to best, prepare.
This might be a good segue to what I wanted to talk about. a little bit in this episode, is this book makes me think about back in, I must have been in grade 6 or something, I don't know, when I had sex ed. And
You're concerned you had sex, and I was like, oh,
I
was
had
like,
sex.
great
Heart
sex.
just
We're going there?
skipped a little bit there.
Yeah,
I
my
was
mom's
like,
gonna be
like-
listening to this and being like, "What? You did what?"
Oh.
I know. I was like, "No."
But edit that
okay, if that was your journey.
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, everybody different.
And we did some classes with girls and boys together, and then the boys went off and did something else, and they're like, "We're going to have a class with just the girls."
Oh yeah.
And this is part of the problem, because if your family's embarrassed about talking about these kind of things, there's not much you can do. But the education system is not supposed to perpetuate these attitudes of shame. It's biology. And when you separate out the class by gender, you're telling the girls, we can't talk about this in front of the boys because it's shameful.
Yeah.
And you're telling the boys
You don't need to know.
you don't need to know.
Not your concern.
Because the girls should be ashamed. Like, I think it's perpetuating that sense of shame. And how much better would things be if everybody got the same education? It's just biology. You don't separate people out and say, well, we're not going to teach you about the immune system. We're only going to teach this half of the class about that. And I understand that some teachers might not feel comfortable doing this. And that's why we need subject matter experts teaching. It's sex ed, but it's about just one part of your biology. And it doesn't need to be shameful. We can talk about the details of how a system works and what the issues are. And I, for one, think that people who find out all the facts would be less like, I know they worry about teen pregnancy and STIs and stuff. But I think that if everybody got the same information, that would be less likely to happen. And everybody should be having the information.
You raise a good point, but yeah, I think back to my grade 6 self, and I'm just like, there wouldn't be a chance in hell if the aim was to get the students to open up and share. I think you would increase the likelihood of engagement and sharing by removing grade 6 boys.
I think in the first generation or two of it would be like that. I think for the first couple of years, it would be like that, Kara, but I think eventually it would start to shift.
Yeah, I think you're right, because the bigger message is, I think, like what Meredith is saying, is that
I think at first
separating
those ages would suffer, but I think 5 years from then it would be like, boys know about that too.
And also, can we just include it? We only did it 1 year. It was just a small period of time. It wasn't like it was all year. It was just like, we're doing a special thing. And even just being like, we're going to do this special thing. And, some parents are pulling their kids out or whatever. Just make it part of a regular curriculum. If it's talked about enough, then it becomes just normal, common knowledge. And even if your parents, think about yourself going through puberty, even if your parents don't want to talk about it, think it's shameful because of the way they were raised, that's when you're going to start rebelling and be like, Mom, grow up, or Dad, grow up. I'm just going to talk about it. And the more we do, and the more that role models like teachers and the education system, they're supposed to be role models for us to just make it normal. The more that happens, the better it's just going to be for everybody. Because, people without periods who marry people with periods don't want them suffering either. And if they're educated, then you have twice the chance that those people are going to be able to help each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is kind of weird. Like, just make it a part of biology and science. Like, don't treat it like it's this big deal.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the intestines now, and then we're going to talk about the uterus.
Treat it like it's normal because it is normal.
And I think that can start with just all of us, every person listening, every one of us. If we are talking about periods and talking about them normally and not calling them Shark Week or whatever the horrible things people call them, but it's true. People call them Carrie and Shark Week. I don't know. Red Wedding.
If you've seen John Wick, it's not even close, the amount of blood in that. Geez.
Exactly. It's like, can we just let's just have it normal. And why do we need to say I can't talk about it. I'm not feeling well right now, or whatever, to your male coworkers or whatever. Just be like, I'm on my period. That's the way that it is. Half of us are women or whatever that work with you. Half of us will be on our period. By
the way, you came into this world as a result of your mama being able to have a period. Yeah.
Exactly.
This interruption is brought to you by Strange Things, a self-published children's book written by Anne Amos and illustrated by Leah McBean. Find the digital ebook on Amazon.ca.
Book interrupted.
My interruption today is a mammogram, my first one ever. I had to get a baseline because I'm 40 and I have the history of breast cancer in my family. So I went and I forgot that it was my period and that I was going to have tender breasts, but I had already booked the appointment. So I went thinking, oh, everyone's told me how painful this is and I'm just going to grit my teeth and get through it. And so I went and she's pushing me around and I'm waiting for it to get sore. And then she's like, okay, we're done. And it didn't. It was piece of cake for me. So it must be the breast reduction or maybe the fact that I deal with, I have a high pain tolerance. But so I made it through my first mammogram. And for everyone else out there, make sure you get your mammograms.
Book interrupted.
I read this really interesting book about goddess mythology, and it kind of traces, it's got a hypothesis that early civilizations didn't worship women in the way that we worship idols at this point, but understood the connection between the moon and the lunar cycle and the woman's cycle. And they could see, they think about in the beginning, before anyone knew anything, right? You look around, that's how you know stuff. And you observe. And they would see the moon and it would be full and then it would disappear and it would come back and it would be missing for a couple days, right? But it would always come back. And it was really symbolic of, rebirth and the cycles and generation and all these things. And women were in sync with that. And women would bleed for a certain amount of days and they wouldn't die. And then everything would be fine again. And because of these similarities that they notice, there was a reason to understand how women are directly related to essentially creation. And therefore, they were worshipped in that way. They were understood to be valued. And the book goes on to describe how religion, modernized, began to remove the feminine from what is valued and important, and in fact began to oppress it. And a lot of the symbolism that we know from what you would call, I guess, modern religion, even some of these religions are very ancient, but I'm talking about religions that come after this proposed, goddess
organized
society.
religion.
I guess, that would be a good way to put it. A lot of their symbolism is actually predated as feminine symbolism and female symbolism. And it's been taken and turned masculine. And this is also where society, as this book proposes anyways, became split. And so everything that was associated with femininity was reduced to shameful or embarrassing or weak or, not appropriate. And everything that was associated with masculinity was raised up and admired and the thing you were aiming for and the thing that you want to be. And from there, you can see how it unfolds, why men are depressed, right? Because they have a concept of what they're supposed to be, and why women have been, subjugated forever, right? Until fairly recently. And I just think it's really interesting, that shift. Why, and
Power.
I was just going to say, I think some people got jealous.
It's fear, right? Of that power that we have, regardless. You can put it down, push us down, whatever, but we still got it. We're still bleeding and living, surviving.
My kids are very interested. I have no privacy from them. So they're very interested about the whole thing. So we already started talking about it, even though they're 2 and 5, almost 3 and 5. But we talk about it because they want to know. And so they like to hear about the different body parts. So it's really cute hearing a 3-year-old say uterus.
I know it is. And I just like that similar with my family, Meredith. It's that I think, Charlie started showing curiosity and interest by age 3. And then of course, the younger sister, Alex, just follows suit. And they even get this is too much information. They get excited. When I'm on my period and they're like, Mommy, are you going to the washroom and you'll be changing your pad? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, like you're going to do that right now? And I'm like, are you pushing for an invite? Like, is that yes. Yeah. Like, and they're fascinated and they'll go, do you want to remove, on the new pad, how you like take off like a Band-Aid, like the zip protecting the stick.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then they'll fight over who gets what. You want to take it off, like laughing. Because they're just fascinated by it. So, yeah, because it's just another part of being a human.
They're like, so you're bleeding. It's like, yes, but you're not hurt. No. And then they'd be like, you grew me in your uterus, right? I'm like, yes. You made me. And I'm like, yep. And they want to know about that. And it's like, yes. So it's all, and this is how these things get normalized, just by, I might make a song about like the biological part of it, because like I like making songs about how our body works for the kids, because I like that. Like we have the digestion one, and then we have the wiping front to back song, so they don't, wipe from back to front.
That's amazing.
They love the wiping front to back,
You should sing it for us. Come on,
Okay, ready?
Derek,
Go.
let's hear it.
I'm
Let's
gonna
hear
need
it.
a couple
1,
of
2,
wave
okay, ready?
files with these.
I got 2 songs. Ready? Here's the front to back goes. Front to back. We wipe front to back. We wipe like that. We always wipe from front to back. We never wipe the other way, or germs will make me sick one day.
Pretty good.
Yeah, Violet loves the germs will make me. She goes, or I will be sick one day. I'm like, okay, whatever. We're working on the last part. She has to agree. But she loves it. And she'll go, is this the front? I go, yeah. She goes, this is the back? She goes, yeah. And she'll be like, I did it. I wiped from front to back. But like, I don't know. I wasn't taught that. I was like, I just don't want them getting urinary tract infections. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's funny when you guys talk about talking to your girls. Maybe other listeners feel the same way. I feel like I don't want to tell Metchi, because I feel like you're going to ruin
Take her
She
innocence.
saw me change.
Yeah.
Sarah.
I just don't want to tell her.
Remember
Yeah,
she changed my tampon at Canada's Wonderland that one time? And she
was there.
horrified. I was like, I'm so sorry, Sarah, but I had to change it and they wouldn't leave.
And
You
like,
showed them.
So then Charlie was like, are you okay? Charlie was like, hey, gross.
Metchi's like,
She looked like literally she had seen a ghost.
Oh my God.
I wasn't trying to show them, but it was just like, it had to be changed. Let's put it that
I
way.
know, I just always want privacy. And then she's starting to get curious about it. But then like, I just don't want to screw it up and make
Well, just talk about it like it's normal.
Yeah,
like it's just
don't
something
make it a
It
thing.
is.
normal. Don't make it a thing.
Maybe there's
But
another
it's a
family
thing for
member
me,
like
right?
your sister who likes talking about it
Yeah.
that might
Next
talk
time
about
we're
it, and
together,
she
we'll just
will
bring
be
it up.
less uncomfortable because it's not with her mom.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I'd be like, come in while I empty my diva cup. That's the thing. Like the kids would like,
Exactly.
pour it out. Like, I mean, they are in there. Sometimes I'm like, I just want some privacy. They're like, can I see? I'm like, okay, now go. I'm gonna have like some privacy, but they're not.
I
gonna
let
do
Max
Also,
see. She's so
Mitzi-
curious. It's gross. I know. Maybe.
but they
edit
just
this out,
want
I don't know.
to see it.
She just
And
wants
then-
to know.
some people don't talk to them about it, and then it happens maybe earlier because some people get it early, and then they're scared and they don't know what's
I
going on.
wouldn't want
and
that
they
to
feel-
happen. I know she's 8, like she has some time, but that I'm starting
You
to think like
hope.
I'm gonna have to
Maybe.
talk to her about
Yeah,
it.
you
But I'll
hope.
talk to her about
God,
it next
I
time we're
hope
together.
She's that kid that like she has the tiniest cut and she's like, I'm bleeding. And I'm like, what?
So she would be pretty
Where?
scared if it
Where?
happened.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. So that adds to the
You got a primer.
conversation.
Well, that's
Yeah,
your
and now
book interrupted challenge, my friend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Built it up.
One
You can
conversation
update us
about
on
it
if you've
before
had
the end of the book
conversation.
cycle.
You can ask her what she knows. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's
ask
making
her.
it a thing. I think just one day you'd be like, oh, just at like breakfast table, like my period's late again, or like
Mhm.
came early, and she'd be like, what's that?
Lots of us didn't have conversations about this with our parents, and we turned out all right. So I wouldn't worry.
Yeah.
I can tell by
Who
Sarah's
doesn't?
body language how uncomfortable she is about this conversation. Like Sarah's like,
I'm trying not to be. Like I'm trying, like I like actively try not to be. But it's like, yeah, I am that conditioned person. Like
Okay.
never wanting
I'm
anyone to
finding
know
out
that.
I am too. I didn't think I was conditioned about anything. I talk about almost anything. But when I mentioned in my last PJ that I was like, there was like a little page on different kinds of discharge, and I was like, oh, No, thanks. I was like, who knew there was kinds? I didn't know there was different kinds. I never thought about it. I thought about like the two kinds are you have one, you don't have one. Oh yeah, and then yeast infection. That's it. That's it. I didn't know there was even kinds.
When you have problems conceiving, you know all about every discharge.
Totally.
Possible.
It's your guide. It's your roadmap to conception.
Yes, I know lots about it. Too much.
And yet, shouldn't our children learn about this before they go through puberty?
Like, does any of your girlfriends ever mention they're just discharged to you in your whole life? I've talked about my periods with my girlfriends a lot, but I never talk about my discharge.
Never, ever.
No.
Ever.
Only Meredith.
Well, no, the one type of
Only
discharge
Meredith.
just before the baby comes out. I did talk, I think, about
mucus
that.
plug.
Yeah, the meat, because I was like, is this, I don't know if this is the discharge that you look for.
Bloody show?
Yeah.
Bloody show.
What a name for that.
What a show.
Right.
What a show it
Dude,
was.
his name.
That is the name for it? It's called the Bloody
they call
Show?
It the Bloody Show.
Yeah.
Ew, that's horrible. Why would they call it? That sounds
Because
like
a fucking man made it up. You know, he named it at some point, right?
It's petrified. I was petrified to be checking my underpants for the Bloody Show. Yes, absolutely.
ridiculous. That's up there with Shark Week and Carrie and Red Wedding.
Yeah.
This is not about seeing red, but I started reading another book that I recommend to you ladies too. It's called The Vagina Bible. And you will learn so much about your vagina and vulva in this book. I highly recommend it. I'm reading it as well.
Yes, Meredith has sent me photos from the book about things she's learned. She's like, oh my God, did you know this? And she's like texting me photos of the...
Do you guys have any idea? It was so complicated.
Apparently it's very big.
It's big and it makes sense.
It's like a penis, right? Like that when we split up and become male and female.
Way more. There's way more going on.
There's like all these things down the side.
It's like an inverted Y, but like the part that you see is the top of the Y, but it's like an inverted Y, but each side's got two forks. It's like, it's got stuff going on. The thing that you see is very small and it can extend like 5 inches inside you. Like it's way more impressive than a penis. Like we should be talking about clitoris envy here. It's amazing. Anyway, this book, I highly recommend it. You'll learn so much about your vagina and vulva that you had no idea.
Hey,
it's great.
I think what you told me about the penis thing, about the front and back. Tell them that.
Oh,
that
yeah. Okay.
Just to make you guys angry.
When we talk about anatomy, we talk about dorsal and ventral. So dorsal means the back and ventral means the front. And so if a person is standing with their palms facing forward, the front is the ventral and the back is the dorsal. Like this is your ventral and this is your dorsal hand of your hand. Except this is the same for every single body part except for the penis. The penis, the dorsal is as if it's labeled as if you have like a skyward erection or like a man's got an erection.
No.
So that if you have an erection, this is the dorsal and that's the ventral. So it's not in the relaxed state. That body part is defined based on a raging boner, not on the relaxed.
This is so loaded with some text. Oh my God.
Anyway.
Seriously?
Isn't that wonderful? I just love like how ridiculous some things
Completely ridiculous.
It's so laughable, like it's sad and funny at the same time.
It's like you can just see a bunch of men that gathered together and they're scientists and they're putting together the textbooks.
I always have
the
a boner.
dorsal and the whatever. And then the day comes for their meeting on like the male anatomy. And
No, my dick's more often hard than it is soft.
No, I think we should name it and it's a rec stance because I
It even has wind burn on the side. It's got a suntan on the underside. I'm hard all the time, boys. That's great.
every day, yo.
Every day. That's great.
really how it should have been decided.
I
Which
can't wait
side
to
is
ask
more suntan.
what he thinks the front of his dick is. Like
what's the front and what's the back?
We should all do that. Let's all ask our partners. Yes.
Okay.
If you had to name it,
I'm
which
sure
side?
I bet they're all gonna do it from the not all.
I think
I think many are gonna do it from.
I think it would also depend when we ask them. If we're about to have sex, you might be like,
challenge accepted.
Not first thing in the morning.
front of your penis.
Yeah, don't ask first thing in the morning.
I'll look down and be like, oh, I don't know. This one?
That's funny.
Go off on
Silly.
tangent.
I think, Sarah, like, yeah, you're like embarrassed and you don't want to be. I think that because my children ask so many questions, I definitely talk about it more, which makes it just gets easier every time.
I do mention that like women have eggs and that they turn into babies. So she understands that. Like I've talked about that kind of stuff. I just haven't got into the actual period.
Well, that's perfect
and
though,
then
because now you can say to her, you know how I told you that women have eggs that turn into babies? So when you're super curious about me in the bathroom, it's because when women have eggs that don't turn into babies, whatever you want to do, nest, uterus, whatever, the place that the baby was going to grow has to get cleaned out because the baby's not coming. So your body takes care of that. And that's what that's what's happening in the bathroom. And it's bleeding because the body feeds itself with blood. That's a whole other story we can talk about how the body feeds itself and uses blood to transport stuff around.
Yeah.
But that's pretty.
You can take baby steps towards that for sure. Like you've already started with the egg. You're partway there. You're getting there.
Well, that's true. We've already talked about blood and how like the food goes to blood, all of that stuff. All biology I go through, just this particular one because I know it's here or here even like. Ooh.
It's because I hear you because it's just another piece of tangible evidence that get older, and also by then default, so do we. So I don't know, it could go back to a fear of death. It could go back to that. Like not the other day, but fairly recently, I was like looking, I'm going to do it again right now. Shouldn't have had some wine. Anyways, I was looking at pictures of Freddie at a 3-year-old and it makes me want to cry, because I miss that guy, but he's right here, the version of an almost 7-year-old, but that little 3-year-old, like I miss him. Right. So I could understand how some way addressing period might trigger that kind of a thing, right? Because you don't want them to grow up. You just want them to stay.
No, I want Max to grow up. I want Max to grow the fuck up.
I'm excited by it.
She's driving me fucking bananas. I feel for you and bless your heart.
Move out.
Fuck that bitch. She's trying to kill me.
She accuses Leah on the daily of
She might be the demon seed.
She's the bad egg.
Yeah, she's the bad egg. No, she's delightful, but she's terrifying. I have a question, Kim. You'll talk to Freddie about your period or let him see you? I don't know.
Okay, so I don't necessarily let him see me because, and it's not even like a censorship thing. It's more just
I'm curious. I don't
know. He's like an evil genius, right? So I'm like, I don't need to add this to your arsenal. But I say, women, this is and the same similar thing. Our body prepares to have a baby. And when we don't have a baby, then the place that the baby was going to go, we bleed. And so it comes out. And I don't want you to watch me while I deal with my blood. It's I don't want privacy in the bathroom. But I do
I don't know how I handle
because I don't want him to be that uninformed, asshole in grade 8 that's making fun of someone who has their first period through their white pants.
Or whatever the story is, right?
No, it's always the girl wearing the white denim.
I wore white pants today to Anna.
No one. Yeah.
So you know that I am not menstruating.
Did you guys have that in elementary school, or I guess depending upon how old you were? So I guess we could say early high school as well, where I don't do this as an adult, but those first few years of having periods, there was much more attention given to what I was going to wear to school that day. I just I don't know why
you don't even do that as an adult. I do that as an adult more than I did.
No, I would wear my white pants. Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
No problem. Yeah.
What?
No problem.
I don't even own white pants.
I don't admit that, Kara.
I don't even have special underwear.
Heavy flow.
Now you're a scanty period haver.
But I think I'm
shaming
up though, guys, because remember when I was mid-teenager, I was for a few years there anorexic. So prior to that, I had the types of periods that you guys described. Literally, I could barely make it through the hour without having to change. And then I think I really messed up my body.
Yeah.
Because it was, I think, 3 years before the period started coming back, and then he put on the pill to encourage that it would come back. And then it was a whole different type of period. It was as if I was two different types of humans.
It's weird.
Like
it's
a completely different experience. Yeah.
How much you were able to change your body.
Yeah. Oh, it felt great to have that sort of control because it was petrifying.
That's what it's about,
I can remember, I can remember being in grade 4, looking at myself in the mirror and being like, and my mom raised us, like she was a Lamaze teacher. And she also raised Leah and I with that book, that What Happens to Your Body. But like she gave it to us at like age 1 and 2. I remember being like, man, is this happening like right now, these changes? And I can remember being in grade 4, the idea of going through puberty was beyond petrifying. I was like, I don't have a say in it. It's just going to happen. And then I have no idea. They're going to be big. They're going to be small. The hips are going to go up. Like it was petrifying. So yeah, I think part of the eating disorder, it was really nice to be like, who's fucking in control now? You know? Body.
Yeah, I agree with you because I felt the same way. I didn't want to get my period. I was like, no thanks. Like, yeah, I'd rather just keep on keeping on without that added whatever. But I think mine was by that awareness because I wasn't like the first person to get my period, you know? And I had already witnessed people like this poor girl in our class at some point, and this is not even high school, so it should have been more. Okay, 2 stories. One story was a girl fully got her period. It may have been just like standard white pants, right? And the boys literally chanted red, red, red at this girl after that happened to her. And it was like, what are you like? Well, anyways, this is a good example of it supports Meredith's argument, right? Like this is ignorance at its finest, right? Just ignorance. And I even add back to Leah's question to Freddie, you know, like this is normal. This is what happens to girls. And like, you need to know about it. And then you need to accept it, right? You don't have to make them feel bad or anything else. Like this is whatever, right? And then another girl, this was later, this was in more high school. She got her period while we were in swimming class. And she had been like, so I don't know what her story was, right? I didn't go into details with her. So she either had exceeded the capacity of her tampon or just got her period. And she had been sitting on a bench. And so when she got up, there was some evidence, right? No. Watery evidence because she had been wet and everyone, and it was a big fucking thing, right? And so
ideally, the person who noticed it, if they had thought ahead about what they would do, would have just taken a towel and gone, whoop, and then told her, hey, psst, go to the bathroom, right? Yeah. Like, you know, like these are things that we could support each other. It's easy as a 40-year-old to say that. I mean,
when I got my period, when I got my period, I was a late bloomer. So I got it very late and I got it in the middle of school. So I like went to the bathroom and then just like left and went home because that was our thing. My mom was like, never get upset in public. And I was like, ran home. And
hold it in till you get home.
Yeah, everything you had to wait till you got home to be emotional because I was like the sensitive kid. She's like, don't get emotional in public, just run home. And I'm like, so I always would just run home.
And she would run, wasn't walking home. She'd run as fast as she could.
Run!
Well, she got told to run. She does things right.
Like sprint. Yeah. And, but I remember I lied to people forever that I hadn't got it, even after I did, and I was already a late bloomer. I remember I went to a pool party, and everyone's like, the one girl was like, do you have your period? Is that why you don't want to go swimming? And I was too afraid to use tampons, too. And I was like, no, I haven't got my period yet. I just don't feel like swimming.
Really?
Like, I just wouldn't even though the girl was, my friend was like, no, it's okay. Like, you can tell me. I was like, no.
You just gave me a flashback. I forgot about this. The first time I used a tampon was essentially because I was forced to by my mom, who was all like, stop being so bloody whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just do it.
I'll give you my 10 cents.
New to my, here's my 10 cents, Kimberly. Use tampons. Like I recently had my period, I think, but I was never using tampons. And we were going to the wave pool. And we had like family over from England. Like it was like a super important trip to the wave pool because we were showing people.
One of those important wave pools.
Yeah. Like this was not one that we could cancel. We were entertaining. And so she was like, wear this tampon. Like, just said, like, you know, do you want me to help you or whatever? But I'm like, no, right? Like you're all like horrified. Like, no way, you can't help me. And like, whatever. So like anyways, I think essentially I ended up putting it in like fucking perpendicular It was so
Oh my God.
uncomfortable. And I can remember like being in the wave pool and being like, this can't be right. Like floating around and then putting sideways tampons like that.
This can't be right.
Oh my God. I was a competitive swimmer when I don't remember when I first
cool.
got mine.
I didn't even know that about you.
Yeah. And I remember the first time, like I must have had it before, but I remember laying in the bathtub and mom was, you read the directions and, try to see if you can do it. I remember calling her and I was bawling. I was like, I can't do it. My mom had to do it for me. She had to put my first tampon in for me, but she's a nurse. So
that's so amazing,
like I grew up.
Yeah. I couldn't even bring myself to allow my mom to do it because of whatever shame or privacy. Like there was some, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even, I'm sure that would have been best. If I had a professional show me.
You're like, my actual equilibrium and my actual equilibrium's off. You're all sideways. Poor you in the wave pool.
The first time I tried a tampon was the minute I found out I had my period. And I was like, okay. And I had like supplies from sex ed or something. And I went a couple months. Maybe. I went a couple months and then I ran out. And then I said, Mom, I need tampons. And she went, you got your period? I'm like, I've had my period for a while now. I just need supplies. I don't want to talk about it. And she's like, oh, okay. So I kind of like didn't give her an opportunity to make a deal. And I think part of it is because I'm like, I don't want this to be a deal. Like, I don't want things to change. And I think maybe that's a lot of what people are talking about. Like, I don't want it to be another thing that I don't want people to want to talk to me about it. I'll just figure it out. But that's kind of who I am. I'll just figure it out.
Yeah. A celebration for you and bought you that beautiful gold ring with an emerald.
Guys, why did you have to bring that up?
You ungrateful little shit. And look at her face. Look at how ungrateful this little asshole is. I had that ring. I could go get it right now.
She
just like threw it away.
Me, how do I want to handle this? And I said, I don't feel ready to talk about this with anybody. And she goes,
very honest.
I understand. Then she turned around and she went, oh, so you're never going to believe, oh, hey, so-and-so, you're never going to believe it. And then she was like, everybody, family, we have a ceremony. Kara to the service. And I was like, so I can't even trust you. You'll literally get me to be vulnerable. I'll open up and tell you what I feel comfortable with. And then you'll do the opposite. But to be fair, she was so excited. It was just as big of an event for her. But my grade 7 self could not see that or appreciate it at all.
I love that she gave you a ring and celebrated it. That's so great.
I know. It's very, very sweet. It is. It absolutely is. She's very caring.
Mine was the same though. Like that experience at
mine at the wave pool was the same thing. Well, I don't even know, like I might have bundled it all together, but definitely the wave pool, like she was telling the family, like, I don't know, maybe why we were late for leaving or whatever, right? And I'm like, shut up, like, don't tell me about my period.
It's just Kimberly putting in her tampon perpendicular.
It takes a while to get it like that.
Just give her a good 7 minutes. She'll be fine.
All right. Well, I didn't see it from that perspective. It's a nice ring. You can have it.
No, it absolutely is. And it does speak to, like, look at what Mom did in that example, is that she was trying to demonstrate it's something to celebrate, that it's a marking, if it's like a rite of passage, and that people close to her and our family are deserving to know about a big monumental occasion.
Yeah, I guess she did kind of take it from you, though. I didn't think about it that way.
You shouldn't be embarrassed because my mom isn't. Like, that's just.
And it's nothing to be embarrassed about.
I know, but I can understand. It feels like it's not yours. Yeah, it didn't feel like it was yours.
She's so proud of you for this thing that you had no control over happening.
Well, you know what, Sarah, that makes me think about the thing with Mati.
Is maybe this will motivate you. I hope this will motivate you. Is your pursuit of your comfort with it can help her to understand how she should interpret it, right? So even though Kara was still mortified and whatever, we understand that her mom was proud of her because she's now a woman. Welcome. Like, I'm come to you're a woman and this is a wonderful thing to be. And that's so great. And so your ability to, hold her hand across that threshold is probably a pretty important moment.
Yeah.
Right. And then obviously, I mean, you know that, but maybe, spending some time thinking about it in those terms might give you the extra little push to have the uncomfortable convo.
Show your flow. Show your flow. Show your flow.
Show your flow. You go from like completely censored with Mateen to be like, come here, pull this string.
You just got. It's like, guess what's at the end of the string? It's not going to be what you think it is.
I have a surprise for you.
Oh my God.
Instead of pull my finger.
You might not know because it's perpendicular right now, but you'll still be surprised.
Yeah, what string?
Oh my God. So wrong.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Book Interrupted. If you'd like to see the video highlights from this episode, please go to our YouTube channel, Book Interrupted. You can also find our videos on www.bookinterrupted.com.
A book club is just a book without members. Join the community by following us on Facebook, Instagram, or sign up for exclusive content through our website at bookinterrupted.com/unpublished. We'd like to give a big shout out to our listeners. Your support makes this all possible. Thank you for the uplifting feedback and for recommending us to family and friends. We love hearing from you. Please reach out through our website at bookinterrupted.com/fans or by emailing connect@bookinterrupted.com. We appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule to connect with us. See you next time on Book Interrupted.
Moments you can look forward to on next week's Book Interrupted.
And I even got like a little brush. I got a little brush and like cleaned out the holes and like.
Does anyone still do Kegel exercises?
Feels like you have this like wave of like, I'm going to pass out. It's so bad.
Just pouring down my legs.
I wear adult diapers.
Composting in my
Oh, Lord.
in my tunnel.
Book Interrupted.